folks, welcome along to the vlog. You might think the toilets are a very strange place to start a YouTube vlog, but today is going to be a build project, and the toilets is where ultimately what we create today is going to end up. So here in my hand I have a toilet roll holder. Yeah, look at that. And as you can see, it's been battered and bruised and pulled from the wall. So no longer is it of any use to us. And of course, the plasterboard in the wall now has a big hole in it. Now, working in the industry, these things happen. People are brutes and they do wreck things on a regular basis. But I want to build something a little bit more substantial, and because it's mounted onto plasterboard walls, you can see here, these partition walls. This is the ladies' toilets. There's nothing there. There's one actually in action with a sparse looking toilet roll on it. So yes, you can see mounting is terrible. In fact, this is awful. So definitely needs addressing. We need to put something new on here and something that's going to stay on this poorly made plasterboard partition as well. So I've got a couple of ideas up my sleeves. So first things first, we'll get rid of this one and we'll go back outside through the beer garden and across the dray run into the brewery and then down into the workshop, and we'll sketch out a little bit of what I've got in mind. So here we are in the workshop. It's a little bit nippy too, and I've been rummaging around in the scrap bin for some offcuts of materials. So we've got some 38mm galvanized tube here, and this is all off the old stillage that we had in the small pub, and this was made of course out of these interclamps, or you may know them as key clamps. So we've got a couple of these styles of fittings, and also I managed to dig out some offcuts of some 50mm angle iron. Excuse the noise in the background, Gemma's filling some casks with beer, bless her. So we've got some offcuts of angle iron, and also here we've got some 40x40 angle and some 30x30 angle as well. So lots of bits of metal to play about with, and I also need some timber for this project. So what I've done is pulled out some offcuts of pine that we had, I think it's spruce, when we made the benches for the beer garden. That video's on the channel, but you'll have to go back about a year or so to find it. And these were the offcuts that we used for the seats. So they're about 300mm wide, and it's fairly chunky as well. I don't have a tape measure here, but I think that's about 50mm deep. So these are big offcuts. And then of course we've also got some more offcuts which are slightly different in shape and size. Now these were long offcuts, jeez, that were ripped from the slabs of ash and sycamore that we made the bar and the beer garden tables out of way back when we did the rebuild for the new brew shed. Again, if you want to search back through the history of the channel, you'll find the video on there. But these offcuts I've been saving for a project just like this. Now the difference between obviously these two pieces of wood, they're a very similar thickness, but the pine is a softwood and it's really quite lightweight, and the sycamore, actually I think this is ash, the ash is a hardwood and it weighs about twice as much as the pine. So I'm not sure which way we're going to go in terms of materials yet. I might do one of each to see how they work, because we need in the end 3 of these toilet roll holders for the ladies' toilets and 1 for the gents. So if I decide to go all pine or all softwood, hardwood, then the one that's not can go in the gents. So let's bring the camera in and have a little bit of a sketch up, if you like, of what I've got in my head. Right, let's get centered up on this piece of paper here, and we'll try and draw out kind of what I've got in mind. I might just have to angle the page a little bit there just so I can draw slightly off camera. So what I'm thinking is we take the 20 by 20 angle iron, or the 30 by 30 angle iron, and we bolt it to the wall such as this. So the angle can have 1 or 2 holes in it, and then this side as well will also have another section coming down just like so. Couple of holes in there, that's anchored to the wall. Then we'll get maybe the 50 by 50 and we'll put that across here on the top, if you get my drift. So we're basically on this section here, we're looking through the angle there, so kind of a bit off-putting, but I'm sure you know what I mean. And then on top of that we'll screw up from that 50 by 50 angle into a piece of wood. Maybe that piece of wood will be bigger than the actual bracket itself, and obviously it's not going to run back there, but yeah, it would sit against the wall like so, giving us a shelf. I'll colour that shelf in with a lovely wood grain. How do you like that? Anyway, so that would be like a little shelf, so when you come into the toilet you can, let's say it's the ladies, you've got somewhere to put your bag. If it's the gents, you've got somewhere to put your pint, right? And then underneath here I'm thinking about using something like this and having it bolted underneath this section here. So that would be kind of bolted on, and then it will come down with a bit of tube, and then from that tube we could make 2 kind of toilet roll holders like that. So you just slide your rolls on either end, or we could just go for the one and have it, you know, offset like that, and just have one side where you slide the tubes on. I'm more inclined to think that both sides though is a little bit more balanced and less likely to be ragged off the wall. So that would be bolted underneath, and like I say, you just slide your toilet roll tubes on. So that's the idea I've got. I suppose the next task is to start cutting some materials and see if we can't mock up a proof of concept, folks. So let's crack on with that. So cue music, cue table saw, chop saw, welder and grinding action. I think we've done it, folks. Well, we've got one done. I've cut all the steel and everything for 4 of them, but I don't have time for the spray paint and everything to dry in order to finish the video. It's actually 7 o'clock in the evening now, so I thought what I'd do is just get one of them done, and then of course we can see what it looks like. So here is the finished article. I've just screwed it to the edge of the bench. Check that little beauty out. Maybe I should go and stick it on a actual white wall or something, but then you'll be able to see it better than it is. In fact, I might just do that in order for us to finish the video. I was struggling to find somewhere to screw it, so let me just take it off there. It doesn't do it justice, and we'll get a few final shots before we clear off for the evening. So there we go. So we've got a shelf to put your man bag on when you go to the toilets, and I've got a tube here. I don't actually have any rolls, but there we go. You can see that the toilet rolls will fit on either side, and that I think will look very unique and original. I've not ground the welds off either. The welds were actually good enough for me to keep them on because I think it looks good. I've just hit it with some black spray paint, bog standard satin spray paint at the minute. I'm going to put a couple more coats on though before we put these into the pub, and then maybe 1 or 2 coats of lacquer to protect it all, particularly around this area where it's going to get a lot of kind of rubbing with the toilet roll spinning round and what have you. Put a 45 on this angle here, and then I rounded it off just in case anybody catches themselves on it. It should be fine though, it feels nice. And yeah, there we go, a couple of screw holes for the back wall. I've decided to put the bracket at the top because I think it'll offer much more support, because that's where the pulling action is going to happen. So the lower down we have the weight, the more cantilevered and better it is, whereas if the brackets went down, I think they'd be more inclined to pull off the wall, if you know what I mean, whereas the pressure here is pushing into the wall. I'm sure you understand what I'm saying. But there we go. That is a rustic looking toilet roll holder with shelf. How do you like them apples? It's definitely an original idea. So there we go, folks. I'm going to wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed that build. It's been a while since I've done a build video actually, and well, I didn't expect it to take me quite that long, but I didn't start until 2 o'clock this afternoon. And in the interim as well, I've also put a new light up above my welding bench because I found it a little bit difficult to do some of those welds in the dark. So we'll turn that light off now, and we'll get ready to jump in the van and go home, and we will see you on the next vlog. So thanks for tuning in. See you then.